At yun na nga, we can apply here the square root property. And we write that x is equal to positive or negative square root of negative 1. And just a while ago, I made mention that square root of negative 1 is actually represented as the imaginary unit I. So, ibig sabihin lang yan, x is equal to positive or negative I. Which means, for this equation, the solutions can be written also as x sub 1 equals positive I or simply I, and x sub 2 equals negative I. So again, both roots are imaginary. Let's have another example. We'll have the sixth one. Ito siya. Okay, so we'll have x squared plus 3 equals 51. So again, we isolate the term containing the variable that is raised to the second power, which means we eliminate the constant on that side. So we'll have x squared equals 51 minus 3. And x squared equals 48. And we apply square root property. So we write that x is equal to positive or negative square root of 48. So, ang 48 ay hindi perfect square number, pero meron siyang perfect square factor. So, ano kaya yun? What's the largest perfect square factor of 48? It is 16. So, we have to write x is equal to positive or negative square root of the product of 16. At ano ka-partner ng 16? To give 48 as a product? 3. So, 16 times 3 ang nasa loob ng, or nasa ilan ng radical sign. So we have x is equal to positive or negative 4 square root of 3. This only means that one of the roots is positive 4 square root of 3 and the other is negative 4 square root of 3. Okay, another example. Yan, siguro it's time that I give examples na meron namang binomial. Okay, let me see from here. Okay, ito. So we have example number 7 na. Okay, so we have 2x minus 3 quantity squared equals 18. So again, ang naiba lang dito is yung nire-represent ng x this time ay isa ng binomial. So we can still apply yung ating square root property pag ganitong the coefficient of the binomial is just 1, meaning walang nakasulat. And then on the right side is just a constant. So we can go ahead and apply square root property agad. So we have 2x minus 3 is equal to positive or negative square root of 18. Again, wala tayong kailangan transpose kasi nga wala namang constant outside the parenthesis. Okay? Or a separate term aside from this square of a binomial on this side. Okay? So, what do we do next? We simplify square root of 18. Ano ang perfect square factor ng 18 since it's not a perfect square number? Meron ba? Yes. 9. So we have 2x minus 3 equals positive or negative square root of the product of 9 and 2. So we have 2x minus 3 equals positive or negative 3 square root of 2. Are we done? Not yet. So we have to solve for x given this equation na. Ayan. So what do we do first? We have to isolate 2x, meaning eliminate negative 3. So we transpose lang negative 3 to the right side. So dahil meron na tayong positive or negative sign dito, ito na magsisilbing operation signs, magiging plus or minus siya. So meaning yung negative 3 pag tinranspose, it will be written before this positive or negative sign. So 2x is equal to positive 3 na siya, but no need for the plus sign or positive sign, plus or minus 3 square root of 2. And the last step is, of course, to get rid of the numerical coefficient of x, which in this case is 2. So we have to divide both sides now by 2. Yan. So we have x is equal to 3 plus or minus 3 square root of 2 all over 2. So, this is what we can call an algebraic fraction. Yan. So, kasi may radical part din siya sa numerator niya. Okay. So, we can also write the roots this way. Anong kulay gusto ko? Yan, black na lang. So, we have x sub 1 is equal to 3 plus 3 square root of 2 all over 2. And then x sub 2 is equal to 3 minus 3 square root of 2 all over 2. By the way, if you notice something na mali or nakakalito, please just feel free to message me or leave a comment kung saan man ito ma-upload. Ayan. Okay. So, tapos na yung ating 7th example. Meron pa tayong iba pang examples na mabibigay. Let's have the 8th one. Number 8. Tama ba? Yes, number 8. Bali, sa notes ko kasi, nililetter ko sila. So, that will be example H. And, yes. Okay. This is the other example. 5x minus 3 quantity squared equals negative 32. O, diba? May negative constant na naman tayo and we have nothing to transpose, which means we cannot like make this positive or whatever. Mabawasan kasi nga negative 32 lang ang constant dito. So, and we have nothing to also divide both sides by kasi wala naman tong coefficient na greater than 1 or ang absolute value ay greater than 1. So, what do we do? Apply na agad po ang square root property. So, we have 5x minus 3 equals positive or negative square root of negative 32. Yan. So, we have to simplify this radical which contains a negative radicand. So, 5x minus 3 equals positive or negative. We factor out muna yung negative 1. So, magiging square root of the product of 32 and negative 1. Saka natin yan, i-identify how to simplify yung square root of 32. Meaning, what factor of 32 is a perfect square number? Kasi ang 32 is not a perfect square number. What do you think? Yung highest possible, yung highest factor niya na perfect square. It's 16. So we can rewrite the equation this way. 5x minus 3 equals positive or negative the square root of the product of 16, 2, and negative 1. Okay? So, 5x minus 3 is equal to positive or negative. O, dalawa ang lalabas niyan. Meaning, we'll be like simplifying this radical here. Okay? Ang square root ng 16 ay 4. Ang square root of negative 1, that is represented as I. So, meaning 4i will be the coefficient of the radical where the radicand is 2. So, yung 2 na lang matitira under the radical sign. So, we'll write square root of 2. Ayan. So, ibig sabihin, naging positive or negative 4i square root of 2 ang right side natin. Next is to isolate 5x, meaning eliminate negative 3. At kagaya kanina ng ginawa natin ay, yung tinranspose natin na constant ay nilagay natin sa unahan ng positive or negative sign. So, we'll have 5x equals positive 3 plus or minus 4i square root of 2. Ano ang last step? Yan ay syempre to divide both sides by 5 para eliminate na yung coefficient na 5 and get the value of x or 1x. So, we have x equals 3 plus or minus 4i square root of 2 all over 5. So, we can no longer reduce this algebraic fraction to its simplest form kasi nga, wala namang common factor ang 3, 4, and 5 bukod sa 1. They are what we call relatively prime. So, meaning, this here shows already the roots of this given quadratic equation. And again, pakita lang natin paano pa yung other way of writing the roots ng hiwalay. So we have 3 plus 4i square root of 2 all over 5. And then x sub 2 is 3 minus 4i square root of 2 all over 5. Okay, example number 9 na tayo agad. Ano kaya yun? Okay, ito. What if we solve this equation? 2 times the square of the binomial 5x plus 2 equals 64. Ayan, so this is the first example na may nakita tayong coefficient of the square of the binomial. So, what do? We will get rid of that coefficient by applying division property of equality. So, simply put, we just divide both sides by that coefficient, which is 2 in this case. So, we have quantity 5x plus 2 squared equals 32. And, pwede na tayong mag-apply ng square root property pag ganito na yung form ng ating equation where the base is a binomial. So, we show that 5x plus 2 is equal to positive or negative square root of 32. At ang 32 na yan, lumito na kanina sa ating previous example. How did we simplify it? We expressed 32 as the product of 16 and 2, where 16 is its largest perfect square factor. Yeah, so 16 and 2. So which means this becomes 5x plus 2 equals positive or negative 4 square root of 2. And then, what's the next step? Isolate 5x, meaning eliminate positive 2. So it gets transposed to the right side. So it will be written before the positive or negative sign. So magiging 5x equals negative 2 plus or minus 4 square root of 2. And the last step is to divide lang both sides by 5. Gamit na lang tayo ng yellow. So by 5. Okay, so we have x equals negative 2 plus or minus 4 square root of 2 all over 5. So again, this is an algebraic fraction and we can no longer simplify it or reduce it to its lowest term kasi 2, 4, and 5 are relatively prime. So we just write it in another way. So x sub 1 is negative 2 plus 4 square root of 2 all over 5, and then x sub 2 is negative 2 minus 4 square root of 2 all over 5. Okay, so I think I am down to my last example, number 10. Okay, let me choose from my notes here ano ang pwede natin masagutan. Okay, ito na lang. 3 times quantity 4x plus 1 squared minus 1 equals 11. Ayan. Bukod sa merong coefficient ng absolute value ay greater than 3, meron ding constant dito na term which is negative 1. So, anong uunahin natin? Siyempre, yung pagta-transpose or pag-eliminate ng constant term dito sa side where the binomial is. So, we write 3 times the square of the binomial 4x plus 1 equals 11 plus 1. Yan. Kasi di ba pag transpose tayo, naiiba yung sign. And then, we simplify. So, what is 11 plus 1? 12. So, the rest, copyin lang natin. Ayan. So, kapag wala ng constant term na kailangan i-eliminate dun sa side where the binomial is, what do we do next? I-eliminate naman yung coefficient ng binomial na square, kung meron man. And in this case, meron yung 3. We divide both sides by 3. Ayan. So, for the first time yata, meron tayong makukuha constant na perfect square sa right side. Ayan. So, 4x plus 1 quantity squared equals 4. So, ganito na yung ating form ng equation. We can apply na po yung square root property. So, we have 4x plus 1 equals positive or negative square root of 4. And ang 4 ay perfect square. Anong square root niya? 2. So, we have 4x plus 1 equals positive or negative 2. Anong next step? I-isolate ang 4x, i-eliminate ang constant term na 1. So, it gets transposed as negative 1 dun sa right side. And it will appear before this positive or negative sign. So, magiging